Hello, everyone. My name is Heather Fong, and I am a final year social work student at Algoma University, currently completing my placement with Creating Connection in Timmins. I'm excited to share with you my webinar. Today, we'll be exploring the topic, It's Not in Your Head, Navigating Emotional Manipulation. Before we begin, a quick disclaimer. This webinar is for educational and informational purposes only. It should not be used to diagnose or treat anyone. Some content may be triggering. If at any point you feel uncomfortable or overwhelmed, please feel free to pause, step away, or take a moment for yourself. Your well-being comes first. With that context in mind, I'd like to ask for a personal reflection. No sharing required. If you can think back to a time when you were having a conversation with someone that shifted from a regular conversation to one that left you feeling confused and hurt, did you have to apologize? Did you ask questions to yourself afterward, such as, did this actually happen this way? Or, am I remembering this wrong? If this resonates with you, you're not alone and you're not imagining things. Today, we'll explore some of the signs, including gaslighting, blame shifting, and control, and how they can quietly erode a person's sense of reality or self-trust. The goal of this presentation is not to label or diagnose anyone. Instead, the focus will be on behaviors, red flags, and practical tools that allow individuals to recognize what's happening, separate facts from distortion, and respond in ways that protect well-being. These tools are relevant whether someone is currently in a manipulative relationship, leaving one, or reflecting on a past experience. What you can expect from this session is first to understand what emotional manipulation is. I'll also refer to it as EM. The EM gallery will be presented with examples of the types observed. Participants will explore why it's difficult to spot patterns of EM, how to notice the facts versus stories, and examine tools to navigate emotional manipulation. What we can understand of EM is that it's defined as an act of influencing another individual's feelings and behaviors for one's own self-interest or benefit. A concurrent definition describes EM as using positive emotional skills for dark purposes, the self-interested management of others' emotions. In the next portion, we'll walk through a few relational dynamics to observe patterns as if reviewing art pieces in a gallery. Starting with reality distortion types of EM. Gaslighting is a tactic undermining your perceptions. It could sound like, you're remembering it wrong, or you never said that. Projecting or blaming is when someone accuses you of what they did. It might sound like, you're the selfish one, or you always flirt with other people, you're probably cheating. DARVO, which stands for deny, attack, reverse victim, and offender, is used to evade accountability. It might sound like, you're the one hurting me, or you're the one who started this. I was just minding my own business. Attachment and dependency emotional manipulation includes tactics such as love bombing, which is when excessive attention is provided to create dependency. Think compliments and how can I ever live without you? Or intermittent reinforcement, which involves inconsistent cycles of affection and withdrawal that create emotional dependency and make the relationship feel addictive. For control and punishment manipulation types, the silent treatment involves withholding communication to punish and might include ignoring calls or texts, or leaving the room when you walk in without saying anything. Isolation involves limiting access to one's supports, like family and friends. It might sound like you can't go to your parents' house, they don't want you there, or your friends don't really care about you anyway. Emotional blackmail, coercion, or intimidation use fear, guilt, or threats to force compliance. This might sound like, you need to listen to me. Remember who paid for your dinner. Or, if you leave, you'll regret it. Types that relate to self-esteem erosion involve nagging, which uses backhanded compliments to disguise insults. Something like, that dress would look great on you if it was in a larger size. Or, you're smart for someone your age. Triangulation involves creating competition to enforce self-esteem issues. Something like, why can't you be more like so and so? These are only a few examples of behaviors that constitute emotional manipulation. However, it's important to note that emotional manipulation is about repeated patterns and impact, not just isolated incidents. Why is emotional manipulation hard to spot? There are several reasons that it could be. 5 common concepts include trauma bonding, cognitive dissonance, love bombing, nervous system survival, and the hope cycle. Trauma bonding happens when periods of emotional pain are mixed with moments of closeness or relief. The same person who causes distress also becomes a source of comfort. Over time, the brain links attachment with both hurt and reassurance. And that push-pull dynamic creates a powerful emotional tie that makes leaving or even questioning the relationship feel overwhelming. In cognitive dissonance, it's the discomfort of holding two conflicting beliefs at once. For example, they care about me, but also they constantly hurt me. Our brains don't like that tension, so we often resolve it by minimizing or rationalizing the harm. It can sound like, they didn't mean it, or I'm probably overreacting. That mental adjustment helps reduce anxiety in the short term, but it can blur reality over time. The love bombing phase doesn't just occur in romantic relationships. It involves intense, excessive attention and praise to influence or control someone. In a friendship, it might look like person A being showered with gifts and flattery and attention, but later person B uses guilt to get the response they want. Another example might be in a workplace, when a boss overpraises and gives constant special recognition, then later subtly manipulates or pressures that employee. These patterns make it difficult to see past those early versions of those people, which are used as powerful reference points and are hard to let go of. The nervous system survival response happens when experiencing ongoing conflict, unpredictability, or criticism. The nervous system can shift into survival mode, either fighting back, withdrawing, shutting down, or becoming hyper-focused on keeping the peace. These responses, fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, are automatic protective mechanisms, stress responses. Finally, the hope cycle, which happens after periods of conflict, is seen as a calm or repair phase, with apologies, affection, and promises to change. That relief feels real. It creates hope, and hope can reset the emotional clock. The pattern becomes hurt, reconciliation, hope, and then hurt again. That cycle can make it incredibly difficult to step back and see the larger pattern. In emotionally manipulative dynamics, it can be challenging to distinguish facts, objective events, from stories, subjective interpretations. Reality anchoring is recognizing this distinction. It's the first tool in navigating emotional manipulation and provides the foundation for clarity and informed decision-making. Facts are observable, verifiable, and concrete events or behaviors. Stories are interpretations, assumptions, or meanings associated to the events, or often influenced by stress, fear, or hope. For example, the message might be that a message was not responded to within 3 days. The story, interpretation, or assumption, the person is angry, indifferent, or rejecting. There might be physical responses such as increased heart rate or tightness in the chest, signaling stress and the activation of the nervous system. These responses are informative but do not constitute objective events. Once we are internally aware, we can use this information to decide how to proceed. Some tools that will help to navigate emotional manipulation include documentation or recording of important interactions, which provides objective reference points to look back on and reduce confusion, helping anchor what actually happened. Delayed responding introduces intentional pauses before responding. Emotional manipulation often creates urgency, so pausing allows emotions to settle and reduces the likelihood of reacting impulsively. Neutral communication, or low reactivity, can be used in some situations to reduce emotional intensity and can prevent further escalation. Brief, calm responses, without over-explaining or defending, can limit opportunities for continued manipulation. Boundary statements communicate concise, direct boundaries to prevent debate, focusing on what behavior is acceptable and what is not. Some examples might sound like, this conversation will continue when communication is respectful, or that perspective is not accurate. Support systems are external supports, whether through trusted individuals, professional counseling, or structured support groups. They can provide perspective, validation, and safety planning when necessary. As mentioned, these tools are meant for navigating communication that may involve emotional manipulation, providing the user with a foundation for clarity and stability. They're not guaranteed to change the behaviors in others. It's very important to note that in situations involving escalating control, intimidation, or threats, seeking help or consultation with domestic violence resources is strongly recommended. These are some local to Timmins and area domestic violence resources and provincial and national resources. The link to the Canada.ca website contains a lot of extensive information for anyone experiencing any kind of violence. Using the tools for navigating emotionally manipulative relationships, we can communicate with more confidence, understanding that the goal is not to win arguments or change the other person's perspective, but it's about having clarity, steadiness, and self-respect. Components of confident communication involve simplicity over persuasion. Over-explaining or attempting to convince often leads to debate. Stating a position once without defending shows confidence. Using brief, direct language. Using concise language to relay your points reinforces your confidence. It might sound like, that comment is not acceptable, or this discussion will pause for now. Reduced defensiveness. Accusations feed into strong impulses to defend. However, not every statement requires correction. I personally use a trick to help with this. I'll ask myself, is this worth giving my energy to? Usually, it's not. Strategic disengagement. In some cases, disengaging is the best solution to maintain a calm, controlled self. This minimizes reactivity, and using a technique called the gray rocking helps with this, which is the process of deliberately emotionally engaging from manipulation tactics. Lastly, safety awareness. If there's any risk of escalation, intimidation, or retaliation, be aware of this risk and safety plan instead of confronting. Not all situations are safe. To wrap up, today's focus was on recognizing and navigating emotional manipulation. The key takeaways include paying attention to patterns rather than isolated incidents, noticing when confusion becomes a constant response to interactions, and developing the ability to separate observable facts from interpretation. From there, communication tools and boundary strategies can help reinforce clarity, strengthen stability, and support more informed decision making. Thank you so much for tuning in.